The lunch rush at Maplewood Diner was at its peak when Ryan Hale, a tired single dad with calloused hands and a wrinkled work shirt, stopped in for a quick sandwich between his delivery routes. The sunlight poured through the large glass windows, glinting off the coffee pots and polished silverware. But Ryan's mind wasn't on the day, it was on his daughter Ava, waiting for him at her after-school daycare. He was late again, he always was, but he told himself it was okay. He was doing everything he could to keep their little world afloat. That was when it happened. A sharp, panicked sound cut through the diner's chatter, a woman coughing violently. Heads turned but no one moved. She was sitting by the window in a crisp white suit, her golden hair falling over her shoulders, her eyes wide and terrified as she clutched her throat. For a moment everyone froze, and then Ryan jumped from his booth. Plates rattled as he rushed forward, knocking over a chair, grabbing the woman by the shoulders. "I got you," he muttered, his voice calm but his hands trembling. With one firm movement, he performed the Heimlich. The third thrust worked. A piece of steak flew from her mouth and landed on the plate. The woman gasped, tears welling in her eyes, as the diner erupted in applause. Ryan just stepped back, wiping sweat from his brow, trying to catch his breath. "You're okay now," he said softly. She stared at him, at his rough face, the tiredness in his eyes, the quiet steadiness in his voice. Something about that moment stuck with her, though she didn't yet know why. Two, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the beauty of unexpected encounters, please take a second to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Journal. Every click helps us spread more true-hearted stories just like this one. Phew, the woman's name was Isabella Crane, and the world knew her as the reclusive billionaire CEO of Crane Enterprises, a global fashion empire that stretched across continents. But in that small-town diner, she wasn't a name, or a brand, or a figure of power. She was just a woman who'd nearly lost her life and had been saved by a man who didn't even ask her name. Ryan didn't linger. He just made sure she was fine, left a crumpled napkin with his half-finished sandwich, and hurried out the door, muttering about needing to pick up his daughter. Isabella watched him leave, feeling a strange pull in her chest. A man who saved her life and didn't care who she was. That was rare. That night Isabella couldn't sleep. Her luxurious penthouse felt colder than usual, her marble floors echoing with silence. She'd built her empire on strength, independence, and control, but lately everything felt hollow. The boardroom battles, the constant travel, the carefully curated social life, it all blurred together. And the memory of that man's tired eyes wouldn't leave her. She didn't even know his name. Meanwhile, Ryan was sitting on the edge of his daughter's bed, brushing her light brown hair aside as she slept. One day, he whispered, "Daddy's gonna make things better." The bills on the counter told a different story. His delivery van was barely running, the rent was overdue, and his ex-wife hadn't called in months. Still, he smiled. Ava was his world. She was his reason to keep fighting. The next morning, Isabella made a decision that surprised even her assistant. She told her driver to head to the diner. When she arrived, the waitress recognized her instantly, but Isabella just smiled and said she was looking for the man who drives the old blue delivery van. The waitress blinked, then grinned. "That'd be Ryan Hale. Comes in every few days. Real nice guy. Lives over on Pine Street, near the old church." That afternoon, Isabella's sleek black car pulled up to a small, worn-down duplex with peeling paint and a crooked mailbox. Ryan was outside, kneeling beside his van, trying to fix the radiator. His shirt was smudged with grease, his hair messy, and a smudge of oil streaked across his cheek. When he looked up, he froze. Standing before him, looking almost out of place against the cracked pavement, was the same woman he'd saved. "You," he said, surprised. You're okay?" "I'm more than okay," Isabella replied softly. "You saved my life. I just wanted to thank you properly." She held out a small envelope. Ryan frowned. "You don't need to do that. Anyone would have helped." "Not everyone would have," she said, her voice gentle but firm. "Please, it's not charity, it's gratitude." He hesitated, then shook his head. "Ma'am, I appreciate it, but I can't take money for doing what's right." Isabella studied him for a long moment. No one had ever said no to her before, not like that. And yet his quiet dignity stirred something deep inside her. She smiled faintly. "Then maybe you'll let me buy you and your daughter dinner sometime." He blinked, unsure what to say. "How do you know I have a daughter?" "The waitress. she admitted with a sheepish smile. She mentioned it. For a long moment he just looked at her, the way someone looks when they're not sure if they're dreaming. Then he nodded. All right, dinner. A week later, Ryan and Ava sat across from Isabella at a cozy family restaurant. Ava, shy at first, quickly warmed up to Isabella, showing her drawings and talking about her school. Isabella listened, laughing softly, her polished demeanor fading into warmth. She hadn't felt so human in years. She saw the way Ryan looked at his daughter, with fierce love and tenderness, and it made her chest ache. Over the next few weeks, they saw more of each other. Isabella found herself slipping away from her skyscraper meetings just to drive to that small town for coffee or a walk through the park. She learned that Ryan used to be an auto mechanic before the shop he worked for shut down, leaving him scrambling to provide for Ava. She saw his pride, his exhaustion, his unspoken fears, and she admired him more with every passing day. Ryan, on the other hand, couldn't quite understand what was happening. He knew she was rich. Her car, her clothes, her way of speaking gave it away, but he had no idea how rich, and he didn't care. What mattered was that she treated Ava like gold, and when Isabella laughed, he felt something light up inside him that he'd thought had died long ago. But the world had a way of testing good things. One rainy afternoon, a tabloid photographer spotted Isabella leaving Ryan's apartment. The next day, headlines exploded. Billionaire CEO spotted with unknown single father. Rumors spread like wildfire. Board members whispered. Investors panicked, and Ryan, seeing the article on his phone, felt the ground fall out beneath him. He drove to her office tower, polished marble glass walls, and people in expensive suits, and waited in the lobby, his clothes damp from the rain. When Isabella came down, he handed her his phone. "You didn't tell me who you really were," he said quietly. "I wanted you to know me, not the name," she said, her voice trembling. "I do know you," he said, "but I'm not part of your world. I deliver packages. You run an empire. I can't let this mess up your life." She stepped closer, her eyes shining. "Ryan, don't you get it? You saved my life. But more than that, you reminded me what life actually means. I'm not letting you walk away just because of headlines." He looked at her, heart torn, then turned and walked out into the rain. He didn't stop until he reached his van. He sat there for a long time, staring at the wheel, his chest heavy. He told himself he was doing the right thing for her. Days passed. He avoided her calls. The diner felt emptier, the world quieter. Even Ava noticed. "Daddy, why aren't we seeing Miss Bella anymore?" she asked one night. Ryan forced a smile. "She's busy, sweetheart." But fate wasn't done writing their story. A week later, his van broke down completely, right in front of Ava's school. He was sitting on the curb, head in his hands, when a familiar black car pulled up. Isabella stepped out, holding an umbrella. Without a word, she knelt beside him, her designer heels sinking into the mud. "You really thought you could just disappear, huh?" she said with a small smile. He sighed. "You deserve someone who fits into your world." "I don't want someone who fits into it," she whispered. "I want someone who makes it real." And then, in the middle of that rainy afternoon, she handed him a small envelope. Not money this time, but a business card. "I bought the old auto shop on 8th Street, she said. "It's yours. I believe in people who do good without expecting anything back. You're one of them." Ryan stared at her, stunned. "I can't take this." "You can," she said firmly. "Because it's not charity. It's a partnership. Maybe something more." He looked at her, at the woman who'd walked into his life by chance and turned it upside down. Slowly, he smiled. "You really are something else." She smiled back. "So are you." A few months later, the shop reopened, Hale and Crane Auto Repair. Business thrived, but more than that, so did love. Isabella traded boardrooms for afternoons at the shop, laughing with Ava as they painted a small sign by the window. Ryan couldn't believe how far life had turned around. From the man who once counted coins for rent to a man loved by a woman who'd once had everything but happiness. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Journal. We bring real emotional and soul-stirring stories that remind us all kindness and love can change lives. Special request. Comment below. Do you believe that one act of kindness can change a life forever? As the camera pans out, the sun sets over the small town. Ryan wipes his hands on a rag. Isabella laughs with Ava, and the sign glimmers softly in the golden light. Sometimes, Love doesn't come from the perfect world. It's born in the moments when you least expect it. And sometimes, a single act of kindness is all it takes to start forever. The end.